Today I'm going to show you how to set up monitoring, alerting, and automatic remediation using Zabbix 7.0. I created my whole infrastructure using Terraform. You can see here that I opened the firewall rules that I need. Then I created the Zabbix server and another VM that's going to be my monitored VM. After creating the machines, I got its external IPs and I put it on my host.ini file. I'm going to set up everything using Ansible. I'm going to configure everything using this playbook. First of all, on my Zabbix server, the first thing that I'm going to do is to install all of the tools that I need. I'm going to start and enable PostgreSQL, and then I'm going to download Zabbix 7.0. Install core Zabbix server packages and database drivers. Then I'm going to tune the parameters inside php.ini for Zabbix compliance. As you can see, I need to change the memory limit, the post max size, max execution time, max input time, and date time zone. After PHP was tuned, I have to create a database user role inside PostgreSQL, and then I gotta provision the target Zabbix application database. Gotta import default PostgreSQL schema into target database, and then I gotta drop initialization flag to prevent duplicate schema execution. Then I'm gonna upgrade DB password configuration mapping inside zabbixserver.conf. Then I'm gonna remove complete Nginx configuration conflicts by eliminating those files. After that, I'm going to configure Nginx to forward requests coming on port 80 to Zabbix. Then I'm going to restart sync and enable all of those daemons. Zabbix server is done. Now I'm going to start configuring my monitored host. I'm going to install Nginx wget and curl. I'm going to download official Zabbix 7.0 release repository package. And then I'm going to install Zabbix Agent 2. That's what's going to allow the monitored VM to communicate with the Zabbix server. I'm going to configure zabbixagent2.conf so that it can communicate with the Zabbix server. I'm going to inject passwordless pseudo rule for Zabbix self-healing execution path. This is going to allow the Zabbix server to execute commands on the monitored VM if they are deemed necessary. In this case, I'm only allowing a few commands. You might need more commands than that. I'm going to ensure that Nginx and Zabbix Agent 2 are running. I ran the playbook, and as you can see, all of the tasks were completed successfully, and in the end, we got the beautiful message that we have 0 failed. Now on my GCP console, I can see my monitor VM and my Zabbix server. I should be able to access Zabbix using my external IP on port 80. Here on my own Zabbix, I'm going to start configuring it. Next step. All of my PHP requirements are okay because of the Ansible PHP tuning task. I'm going to configure DB connection. I am using PostgreSQL. You got to use your user and password that you set up on your Ansible playbook. I'm not going to use TLS encryption. Give your server a name and click on Next Step. Go through the summary and click on Next Step. I have successfully installed Zabbix. Now I click on Finish. Log in with the default credentials admin and Zabbix. And I'm in. Now I'm going to register my monitor VM. I'm going to go to Data Collections, Hosts. Here I'm going to click on Create Host. My host name is going to be monitored VM. Template is going to be Linux by Zabbix Agent, and host group is going to be Linux server. This is going to give us a lot of metrics out of the box. On interfaces, I'm going to add agent, and I have to add my monitor VM internal IP address. I'm going to click on Add. Within a few seconds, I should see this availability ZBX turning green. After it's green, I start receiving a lot of metrics. I can go to monitoring, latest data. On hosts, I can type monitored VM. I'm going to click on apply. And I can see a bunch of metrics that I get out of the box, like available memory, CPU usage. For example, my CPU idle time is 99%. The machine is not doing anything. My CPU utilization is low, and I can also see it on a graph if I want. Yeah, the CPU is not doing anything. Okay, so we can monitor it. We can see what's going on. But let's say that I want an automatic task to be performed if I see anything like CPU utilization above 50%. How can I do that? I'm going to create an automatic remediation if the HTTP server on my monitor VM is not responding. I'm going to go to Data Collection, Hosts. On my monitor VM, I'm going to go to Items, Create Item. I'm going to name it Nginx port 80 active check. I'm going to use my Zabbix agent to check if port 80 on my monitored VM is responding every 5 seconds. I'm going to click on Add. Now if I go to monitoring latest data, I can see all the items and parameters that I get out of the box. And if I scroll down, I can see the Nginx port 80 active check that I have created. And I even have a graph about it. The graph is showing 1, meaning that the service is up, and you can see that I'm getting a new check every 5 seconds. When I created my monitor VM using my Ansible playbook, I gave Zabbix server permission to run commands on it. Now I'm going to specify that if Nginx is not responding, meaning that if this value is 0, I want Zabbix server to run a command on my monitored VM. I'm going to go to Alert, Scripts. I'm going to create a script. The name is going to be Automated Nginx Recovery. The scope is going to be Action Operation type script, execute on the Zabbix agent, and the command that I'm going to run is sudo systemctl restart Nginx. Back to my Ansible playbook, you can see that that's one of the commands that I specified that Zabbix server can run on the monitored VM. I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to create a trigger. I'm going to go to Data Collection, Hosts. On my monitor VM, I'm going to click on Triggers and create trigger. The name of my trigger is going to be Nginx web server is down. It's going to be of high severity, and I'm going to check that the last time that I checked my HTTP connection on my monitored VM is equal to 0. If you remember, 1 means that it's up, so if it's 0, if it's down, then I want to run this trigger. Click on Add. Now I'm going to link this trigger to the automated recovery action. I'm going to go to Alerts, Actions, Trigger Actions. I'm going to click on Create Action. My action is going to be fixed Nginx automatically. On conditions under label, I'm going to click on Add. The type is going to be trigger. When the operator equals on the host, Nginx web server is down, and it identifies what I've set up before. I'm going to switch to the Operations tab. Under Operations tabs, I'm going to click on Add. The Operation dropdown, I'm going to select Automated Nginx Recovery. Steps are going to be 1, and the step duration is going to be 10 seconds. Of course, the host is going to be the monitored VM. Now, finally, I'm going to click on Add. Now, here I'm going to go to Monitoring, Problems. And I can see that there are no problems. I'm going to SSH into my monitored VM. And I want my terminal and my Zabbix to be side by side. On my VM, if I stop Nginx for any reason, I can immediately see that on my monitored VM, I had a problem. Nginx web server is down, but the status is resolved. On my machine, if I check the status of Nginx, I can see that it's active, meaning that my Zabbix server could identify that the Nginx web server was down and ran a remote command to bring it back up. And that's how you can set up Zabbix server to automatically remediate problems on your servers. Let's see what else can I monitor real time using Zabbix. I'm going to go to Monitoring, Latest Data. I already have my monitored VM specified. I click on File System. I get metrics like space available and space used, and I can see the graphs. Monitor multiple metrics real time. If I go to Monitoring, Hosts. On my monitored VM, I'm going to go to Dashboards. And under System Performance, I can see several metrics such as CPU usage and file system utilization. Change this graph real time. I'm going to bring up my terminal again, and I'm going to create a huge file. And I can see the space utilization chart changing. And that's how you can use Zabbix to monitor your servers and how to automatically respond to issues if you want to.